Hello and welcome to History Channel. Today we were journeying back in time to one of the most pivotal and tragic moments in American history, the Civil War. It was a conflict that tore the nation apart, pitting brother against brother. But what really caused this monumental clash? It's a complex story, far more intricate than a single issue. Let's explore the deep-seated causes that led the United States to the brink of collapse. At the heart of the conflict was the institution of slavery. This wasn't just a political issue, it was a profound moral and ideological chasm that divided the country. In the South, slavery was deeply woven into the economic and social fabric. The Southern economy, dominated by large plantations growing cotton and tobacco, was heavily dependent on the labor of enslaved African Americans. For many in the South, slavery was defended as a peculiar institution, a necessary part of their way of life, and even biblically justified. In contrast, the North was rapidly industrializing. While racism was still prevalent, a powerful abolitionist movement was gaining momentum. Figures like Frederick Douglass, an escaped slave turned eloquent orator, and William Lloyd Garrison, a fiery newspaper editor, relentlessly condemned slavery as a grave moral evil. They argued that it contradicted the nation's founding principles of liberty and equality. This fundamental disagreement over human freedom created a wound that festered for decades, making compromise increasingly impossible. The nation was, in essence, two different societies living under one flag, with one built on freedom and the other on bondage. Beyond the moral debate, stark economic differences fueled the growing animosity between the North and South. Imagine two completely different economic worlds. The North was a bustling hub of industry and commerce. Its economy was built on factories, a vast railroad network, and a diverse range of businesses. Northern states favored high tariffs, taxes on imported goods, to protect their burgeoning industries from foreign competition, especially from Great Britain. These tariffs made imported goods more expensive, encouraging Americans to buy domestically produced items. The South, on the other hand, had a largely agrarian economy. Its wealth was tied to the land and the crops produced by enslaved labor. Southerners strongly opposed high tariffs. Why? Because their economy relied heavily on exporting raw materials like cotton to Europe and importing manufactured goods in return. High tariffs meant they had to pay more for the goods they needed, while also fearing that foreign countries might retaliate with their own tariffs on Southern cotton. They saw these federal policies as a form of economic punishment, unfairly benefiting the industrialized North at the expense of the agricultural South. This economic clash wasn't just about money, it was about power, and the feeling that the federal government was picking winners and losers. This economic tension fed directly into another major cause: the debate over states' rights. This is a concept you'll hear a lot about when discussing the Civil War. The core question was, which has more power, the federal government or the individual states? Southerners were staunch advocates for states' rights. They believed that the U.S. Constitution was a compact among sovereign states, and that states had the right to nullify or reject any federal law they deemed unconstitutional. For the South, this wasn't just an abstract legal theory. It was their primary defense for the institution of slavery. They argued that the federal government had no right to interfere with their property, which is how they dehumanizingly referred to enslaved people, or their internal affairs. They feared a future where an anti-slavery majority in Congress could legislate slavery out of existence. Northerners, particularly as the crisis deepened, tended to favor a stronger central government. They believed in the supremacy of federal law and the idea that the United States was one indivisible nation, not just a loose confederation of states. They argued that secession was illegal, and that no state had the right to simply leave the Union whenever it disagreed with national policy. This fundamental disagreement over the nature of the Union and the balance of power set the stage for a constitutional showdown that would ultimately be settled not in a courtroom, but on the battlefield. The political tinderbox finally ignited with the presidential election of 1860. The candidate for the newly formed Republican Party was a lawyer from Illinois named Abraham Lincoln. The Republican platform was clear: They opposed the expansion of slavery into the new Western territories. While Lincoln himself initially promised not to interfere with slavery where it already existed, his election was seen as a dire threat by the South. For Southern leaders, Lincoln's victory was the final straw. They saw him as a purely sectional president, elected without a single Southern electoral vote. They believed his administration, and the Republican Party as a whole, was fundamentally hostile to their interests and their entire way of life. The election results proved to them that they had lost all political power on the national stage. In their eyes, the federal government was now in the hands of an enemy. In response, before Lincoln even took the oath of office, South Carolina seceded from the Union in December 1860. 6 more states quickly followed, forming the Confederate States of America. Lincoln's election didn't cause the division, but it was the spark that lit the fuse of secession and, ultimately, war. To truly understand the road to war, we have to look back a few years before Lincoln's election, to a piece of legislation that threw gasoline on the fire, the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. This law was a political bombshell. It organized the territories of Kansas and Nebraska, and, crucially, it introduced the principle of popular sovereignty. This meant that the settlers in these territories themselves, not Congress, would vote on whether to allow slavery. This act effectively repealed the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which had prohibited slavery in these northern territories for over 3 decades. The result was chaos. Pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers flooded into Kansas, each side determined to win the territory for their cause. What followed was a brutal, small-scale civil war known as Bleeding Kansas. Armed militias clashed, towns were sacked, and dozens were killed. John Brown, a radical abolitionist, led a notorious raid on a pro-slavery settlement. Bleeding Kansas was a horrific preview of the national conflict to come. It showed that the issue of slavery was too volatile to be settled by a simple vote, and that Americans were now willing to shed blood over it. Finally, we can't ignore the deep cultural distinctions that had developed between the North and South. These weren't just economic or political differences. They were differences in values, identity, and worldview. The South cultivated an image of itself as a genteel, aristocratic society, rooted in tradition and honor, modeling itself after the landed gentry of old Europe. This romanticized self-image, however, was built upon the brutal reality of slavery. The North, in contrast, saw itself as a dynamic, forward-looking society built on free labor, social mobility, and democratic ideals. Northerners valued industry, innovation, and progress. They viewed the South as backward, stagnant, and trapped in a feudal system that was morally and economically inferior. These cultural stereotypes, amplified by newspapers and politicians on both sides, created a deep sense of us versus them. Each region saw the other not just as different, but as a threat to its own way of life. This cultural gulf made communication and empathy nearly impossible, entrenching the regional divisions and making a peaceful resolution seem increasingly out of reach. So as we can see, the American Civil War wasn't caused by a single event, but by a perfect storm of interconnected factors. The moral outrage over slavery, the clashing economic systems, the fierce debate over states' rights, the political earthquake of Lincoln's election, the violence of Bleeding Kansas, and the deep cultural divide all swirled together, pulling the nation into a catastrophic conflict. It was a war that would ultimately redefine the United States, ending slavery and affirming the power of a single, indivisible nation, but at a cost of over 600,000 lives. Understanding these complex causes is crucial to understanding the America we live in today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this exploration of history insightful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the past. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.